This week, we are live from Amana, Iowa for the 2024 Homecoming Rally, and we've got lots of questions and answers from the RV Miles community. This is RV Miles. Welcome to episode number 338 of RV Miles. I'm Jason.
And I'm Abby, and we are two RVers who, along with a group of our friends, have been RVing since 2016. Here at RV Miles, we talk all things RV and outdoors, from industry news to national parks, travel destinations, and a whole lot more.
Special thanks to my father-in-law and your father, Dave Treview, for playing our theme song live for us in the audience here. I'm going to come back and steal his microphone now so that we can talk together. So thanks so much for everybody for being here, for coming out to our homecoming rally, our second annual homecoming rally. We can call it annual now.
We're now allowed to say the word annual.
We got in trouble last year for calling it the first annual. Never again. We're going to do that. So we've been having a great week. This is we're recording this episode on Friday night of the rally. We've got one more night. We've had a whole lot of fun hanging out and playing games. We had a cornhole championship. We did a walking tour of the Amana colonies here, and have just overall had a really great time with all of you here.
Yeah, and for anyone who is not here and wondering if I won the cornhole tournament, I did not. I got bumped out. It was rigged.
First round.
It was rigged. He rigged it. Okay.
I did not.
He put a ringer up against me in the first round.
I wouldn't have went out first round either.
Well, you didn't want to be obvious. We talked about this. So I went out first round, but last year's champions, who we also know talk a good game, did not win this year either. We have new winners.
Yes.
We have new winners
Robert
this year.
and Rod won this year, and yes, right. And Michael and Dave did make it to the final round, though. So it wasn't a fluke last year that they won.
They did. And their shirts were epic. They wore matching shirts. They weren't as cool because there wasn't a smoke machine, but it's okay. So it was a lot of fun. We're going to have trivia tomorrow night with everybody. We're going to wrap it up here really soon. This has been such a blast for us. We say this every time. We said it last year, but this is truly our favorite 4 days of the year when it comes to RV Miles. It is an opportunity like tonight to stand in front of people and do a podcast when it's normally just the two of us bickering a little bit before the show starts. And tonight we can't do that. We can't bicker before the show starts.
Oh,
so
we can.
I mean, we could. We could. It would be, maybe we'd be more comfortable that way. So tonight is all about the opportunity for us to get to answer questions from all of you live here in the audience, to put us on the spot, to see what we can come up with. Our friend Grant has a microphone and he is ready. Whoever wants to be the brave first one.
We have a few written down first.
Should we go with those?
Do you want to do the written ones first?
Let's get those knocked out.
The written ones were for folks that didn't want to be on a microphone.
Okay. Stage manager Grant.
I'm hoping they're not embarrassing questions, but that's okay.
There might be a reason why he wants to read them now. We shall see. All right.
Okay, so the first one. For a longer term trip, how do you balance visiting places that require reservations, i.e. national parks, and taking advantage of spontaneity and doing things you find along the way?
So this was something that came up a lot for us with Alaska, specifically when we went to book Denali. So we booked Denali National Park way in advance of actually arriving there. And that was so that we knew we had what I guess you would call the hot spots, the spots that everyone was going to get. And then we made sure, at least with that trip, that we built in the spontaneity by just saying, we're not going to book anything and we're just going to see what happens.
Yeah, I think there's two major ways you can do that. There's one is you can book the major stuff that's hard to get and then be spontaneous around it. Or you can be entirely spontaneous. It still is possible. It's hard to go to some of the very most popular places, but you know, our first several years of travel, the main thing that we did was look for available campsites on recreation.gov, and that decided where we were going next.
Yeah, camping is really different than when we first started. Like when we were with Bussy, we would be in a campground and maybe a day or two before we had to leave, we would go, where do we want to go? And we'd open up rec.gov and we'd look for some campgrounds in and around the area. And that is where we would go.
And that, that led to going to some interesting places that weren't on our radar.
And some not interesting places that will never be on our radar again.
But for the most part, it was a lot of cool surprises that we didn't know about, really. Some of our favorite campgrounds that we've ever been to were in those first few years when we were more spontaneous. What is that? Spontaneous.
Have another drink.
Spontaneous. Got it. Spontaneous about what we did.
But I think at the heart of it, though, is you have to allow yourself to have a little bit of the unknown. I think that's the really cool thing about RVing, is because you take your house and everything with you, and there are so many different ways that you can camp in like a night. You can be in full hookups, partial hookups, no hookups, a Walmart parking lot, the side of a road. You can be in a national forest. You can be at a Cracker Barrel having dinner. There's so many places that you can go that if you can build in, this is the park I know I need to get because this is really popular, but allow yourself to not be afraid to just figure some of those places out along the way, and always have the backups. Like, don't just say, oh, I'm just going to this place, but have a backup to that backup.
Yeah, but the other thing, if you're somebody that can only get out 2 weeks at a time or whatever, it's okay to just book it all out, but just book more time in different areas so you have time for the surprises in those areas. The campground doesn't necessarily need to be the surprise, right? You can be surprised by all the other cool stuff in the area.
Yeah, I mean, certainly driving through the Yukon, the random pull-off that we decided to stop at wasn't necessarily the surprise.
Yeah.
It was the drive and everything we were experiencing in that. And then just coming upon somewhere to stop and stopping there was just part of it. But that wasn't, it wasn't a make or break. Like if we would roll up to a place and we couldn't stay there, okay, we'll keep going. I mean, that is the nice thing about Alaska. The sun really never sets, right? So you can just keep driving. But it is, I think for us, we desire a little bit to try and get back to, not having everything so rigidly planned. You've probably heard me talk about how I felt like I overdid it this summer when we were out on the road, that I was too scheduled, that I was afraid if I didn't schedule everything out, we would miss something. And we missed something because we weren't having as much fun as when we just let some of it breathe and let some of it just be.
Chances are you've seen them on the road. That's because Blue Ox designs and manufactures the best towing products in the industry. Just look around. You'll find them on highways, in campgrounds, and anywhere you find people traveling in the great outdoors. From award-winning tow bars and base plates to a full line of weight-distributing hitches, adjustable ball mounts, and now they have fifth-wheel hitches too. With Blue Ox, towing doesn't have to be a drag. Visit BlueOx.com for more information. The RV lifestyle is about community, and the RV community is at the heart of RV Life. RV Life recently celebrated the 1 millionth trip planned with RV Life Trip Wizard, their excellent trip planning tool for RVers, featuring all the trusted reviews, pictures, and tips from their RV Life campground site. RV Life also features several blog sites and over 20 additional RVing forums to serve the RV community. All this experience and community feedback come together to help create a fantastic RV trip planner and mobile navigation tool collectively called RV Life Pro. RV Life has marked a milestone of over 3 billion miles traveled using RV Life Pro, counting both the planned RV trips and ad hoc navigation with the included RV Safe mobile app. Take 25% off RV Life Pro at the link in the description for this episode.
Okay, so next we have, for overall experience, amazing environment, and feeling, what are your top 3 national parks? I'm going to add in or places.
Oh, okay.
Well, the first two that come to my mind are Zion and Yosemite.
New Mexico National Park. Just go to New Mexico and go to all of the national parks. Yes.
We've got the New
Represent.
Mexico contingent in the corner over here.
But I'm serious about that. When I think about where would I say my top 3 places are, of course, Zion is going to come up.
Yeah.
That's such an incredibly special place. But I'm going to talk about White Sands. I think I talked earlier today to some people about Gila National Monument and how incredible that experience was.
Carlsbad Caverns. I don't know what I was expecting when I got into Carlsbad Caverns, but it was the first time in our travels when I was like, this is really a truly unbelievable place.
Yeah, walking that natural entrance. If you can do that and take that down, we took it down, but then we took the elevator back up.
And then they tell you that you could, fit the National Cathedral in there in the big room sideways. And it's just mind blowing how big some of those rooms are.
Yeah. But I feel very drawn to, and this is, I know I haven't been to the Northeast yet. I understand. I understand. I feel very drawn to the West. I feel very drawn to places like New Mexico that offer diversity of what you can see and do. You can be in the mountains and in the forests, and then all of a sudden you're in the deserts. And it's places like that. And it's very hard to say hard and fast, these are my 3, because all national parks, any opportunity there's something so magical about
even the
all of
ones
them.
that people like to poo-poo a little bit, some of the small ones.
What's a poo-poo one?
Well, like Gateway Arch, there are places that people think, oh, that shouldn't be a national park.
Indiana Dunes? Anybody?
We still really love those places, and you have to temper your expectations. You're not going to get Yosemite out of Indiana Dunes, of course, but there is some wonder that we found in all of them, and we like all of the history, all of the nature, all of the different aspects. And I think that's the biggest thing for us is that, and this might not be everybody, but we like varying different things at the same time. Like one day we might like to be visiting a big city. One day we might like to be out in the middle of nature, and it's not one or the other for us.
Any day in a national park site is a good day, pretty much.
All right. The value of a brand is often influenced by the pricing strategy. When will RV Miles raise the price of mile markers to be more in line with other content creators?
Oh my gosh. Well, so for those who might be asking what that is really quickly, that is our community supported group similar to a Patreon that we do. It is $70 a year.
I want to say maybe a little more than half of the folks here are mile
More
marker
than
members.
half of our friends here tonight are.
Shout out. Thank you. This came about because, we were always
forced.
We were very uncomfortable
So uncomfortable doing
with
it.
the idea of doing this ever. But several of you reached out to us and said, we would love to have a way to support you. And we finally bit the bullet and did it. And we've been thrilled with the outpouring of support through it. Is way beyond our expectations, and we would love to keep it affordable, though. It's
Yes.
Hopefully it's a way to chip in a few bucks every month or every year to just support the content that we create, and we hope to be able to continue to reinvest that money into the business and continue to grow some of the offerings that we have. If you want to throw more money in, you're more than welcome to. I'm just saying, it's not there's nobody's holding you back.
But,
okay?
Much like what we do here with Homecoming, it's just about what it costs to do this, the cost of the ticket. It's not about us trying to make a profit. It's not about us trying to charge more or expand. Now, certainly if we started adding more things to this, things might grow, but
we do that in other ways. We'd rather make money off of brands and
we'll have the brands pay us
YouTube advertising and stuff, and we'd rather take money from the community and reinvest it in the community.
Yeah, so as long as we still don't feel like we do enough for our mile markers community, until we feel like we have met our standards of what we give back to you, knowing what you give to us, then the price will never shift. And it's really important to us, and it has always been important to us.
Well, there's inflation and all that.
Well, then at this point we need to add another zero. But it really is important that this is a community that everyone feels welcome in, that they feel that they can access RV miles wherever they are in life. And that this should never, mile markers or homecoming or anything that we do, any of our content, it should never feel like you have to be in a certain place to be able to access this community.
Yeah, essentially, like if you, the idea for us is whether you're a mile marker member or not, essentially you're getting the majority of the same stuff out of us. Mile markers, we give some bonus things too that aren't crucial or necessary, but they're fun, right? And our goal is to never be sort of othering with it.
I think fantasy football is crucial. I don't know about you, but I find it to be crucial. So that is the very long answer.
Someone from last place.
There, I know. I'm 0 to hero. I can feel it coming. But that's the long answer. That as of right now, that price there is no talk in that price shifting. We want to just...
To be honest, we haven't thought about it. But.
No, that was not a question I thought I was getting tonight. So we want to welcome more people in there, and we want to make sure that it's a place that anyone and everyone can come to. So anything else?
Last one. Now that you have experienced both gas and diesel rigs, do you regret the purchase of your first one being gas?
With the truck?
Yes.
No.
I
regret the issues that it had.
No, have you seen that video on YouTube? Do you know how many views that video has?
But don't
regret that.
But I don't regret it being
No.
gas. And, and diesel is great. And, we had a diesel bus and that thing would, it would chug, but it would make its way up a mountain, right? And there is something to be said for all of that power, and it's great. But I think sometimes the diesel bros overstate a little bit, like how necessary it is for everybody to get a diesel if you're towing over like 4,000 pounds. Like I think there's a continuum here, and the bigger and bigger you get, the more beneficial a diesel is. Obviously right now we're towing about 8,000 pounds, and I don't think it's crucial in any way whatsoever. And, when we were in the fifth wheel, the Sabre, it was closer to being something that would be a lot more beneficial, but the gas engine still towed that rig really, really well. I mean, we were never over 2,000 RPMs, unless we were going up a mountain pass or something. And usually not much more than you would be if you weren't towing. I mean, I think people are often surprised by that. That's not the same case, though, with our Ram truck before, which struggled. That was a 5.7 liter Hemi, and that one certainly struggled a lot more than our 7.3 liter did. But as far as gas versus diesel, no. I mean, the issues with the engine, yeah, I could complain about that a little bit to Ford and some others, but no, in terms of the technology, no.
Nope.
All right, we're opening it up to the crowd.
Oh,
we got a hand
here
raised.
we go.
You had your 8 years of travel. You've had your 1 year in the apartment. Where would you like to see yourselves in 10 years? And with the math of the boys, I think they'd be in their 20s.
For me, I think once the kids are gone, Abby and I will probably, if we're not full-timers again, we'll be most time travelers.
Yes, really similar to, I would like to have a home base, just where my boys are for whatever path life takes them. If that includes grandbabies, then I need to be close to that. So if it doesn't, that's fine too. But I think to have a place that we can come back to in and around maybe where our kids are. But really in 10 years, what I would love is if we had little pockets of land across the country that we could go to. And maybe we had a tiny little piece of land where one kid was living or one where the other kid was living. And
I suspect our kids are going to be scattered around the country.
Yes.
Like your brothers are, that same situation. It's going to be very similar to that. And we're going to be going out and seeking them a lot, I think.
Yeah. And I would like to see us back on the road most time. Like I would still like to have maybe a studio, a workspace that we can come back to when we've got a pretty heavy load, Or maybe, you know, by that time in 10 years, maybe we're not the only ones doing this all the time. And we can pass some of that responsibility off to others, and we can be more overseeing and getting out there and kind of doing what we didn't always get to do in those 8 years that we were on the road, which was kind of have, in a good way, we always felt a lot of pressure to get all of the work and everything done. And then the pressure at the same time of this place that we're at and how desperately we want to go and see it. But we have responsibilities, and those are important.
We would like RV Miles at that point to be less about Jason and Abby. We certainly would still be, you know, a big part of it, but that we would be broader, that we would have more voices, that we'd have more, you know, if we have videos being done by more people.
We'd like to diversify RV Miles a lot. Yeah. So in 10 years, I hope to have our Class B van and have us just zipping all over.
Maybe a little bigger, a little bit.
I was thinking a leisure travel van with the slide.
That's a B plus
so the
there,
B plus. I was thinking. So that's my. But so that's kind of off.
Yeah.
Where I see myself in 10 years.
Or, you know, a little mini fleet of RVs. We've talked about that too. We already have a little mini fleet. We've got our two, but we don't use the second one. No, I don't want a
mini fleet. It's hard enough to keep up with the one we've got. So.
All right, next question.
We all know you're in search of a new rig. So if money were no object, what would be your dream rig and why?
I know for me for sure. 100%. We talked about this the other night, a few of us.
Okay, go, because I'm going to need to think about this.
Living vehicle.
Oh
my gosh. So if you've never seen these things, they're like,
okay.
They look like if you were to convert like a cargo trailer yourself with some of the highest tech, like best residential, washer and dryer and fixtures and everything. And they've got an insane amount of solar. There's no air conditioners on the roof. The air conditioner's a mini split, and they were able to mount that underneath or elsewhere. And the roof is entirely covered with solar panels. And then they have these trays of solar panels that slide out from under those solar panels that become your awning. That's a bunch more solar panels. And you can just go forever in these things. And they're just beautiful, gorgeous travel trailers. They have a fifth wheel now as well. They're extremely expensive. I mean, you're going to pay what you pay for, a high-end Class A motorhome for most of them.
I think for me, that certainly would be one. And then I'm really, really bad with names, so hopefully I'm going to get this one right. But I think I would get an earth roamer.
Oh, well, that's another option.
I think that if money were no object,
I just want to drive right over any obstacle in the way.
I would go wherever the hell I want to go in that earth roamer, and that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But
money is an object, unfortunately.
But if it wasn't, we would definitely, those would be the two rigs that we would go with for sure. Yeah. All right. Who has another question? There, we've got two in the back. Are you drinking? Because I'm drinking a lot.
Oh yeah, I've got salty caramel Old Smoky from
I'm about to
Tina and
refill
Robert, and it's fantastic. Well, your wine's from them too, but
I know I'm about to refill my wine glass, and I'm just checking over there with what's going on
mine
with
is
you.
Significantly harder than yours.
Yeah.
I got a poker game to play tonight.
This is true. You do have a poker game to play. All right, we're ready. Thank you.
So you've been doing podcasts and YouTube for a minute now. What do you think your highlights are that you've ran into since you've been doing the podcast and YouTube?
So just from the content we've created, okay. Oh boy. I think a highlight for sure, just for us personally, is when we crossed over to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Not because we got some plaque or... Thank you. Not because we got some plaque or, we wanted some sort of outward acknowledgement, but I think it was because for us, we took this thing that we just didn't, we learned as we were going along, and we were trying to create something that we wanted people to be interested in. And it was shocking to us when that happened. And I would say there's that for me.
For me, it's just anytime we run into somebody in a campground, and it's not only, oh, we recognize you from YouTube, it's, oh, I watched your video last night and this is what I think about this news story and that sort of thing. And I love that sort of real-time nature of what we're doing, and that it is actually hopefully helping make a difference and helping get people some information that they need in this weird little world that we have of RVing and camping.
Yeah, I would piggyback on that and say too, just when anyone comes up to us and they talk to us like they know us, and it's so amazing to me, or they come to an event like this and make this beautiful piece of art for us that just captures so much of the things that we love, and they understand that about us, and that you all come here because you feel welcomed to be here.
It's truly humbling. It means the world to us. All we're trying to do here is serve a community, and all the things that you give us is so meaningful to us. But we're here for you, and that's and really truly when something gets some traction and it's something that a lot of people didn't know about, to me that's the greatest thing, that I'm putting out a piece of information that was important to some people and they didn't know about it otherwise. When somebody comes to me and says, I live in that area and my local news didn't tell me about this and you did, it really it keeps me going for what I do.
Yeah, for sure.
At RVmattress.com, you can get a real mattress for your RV for all the different weird platform sizes that RV manufacturers use, from the short king and short queens to the king that's not so wide as a normal king, but they call it a camper king, I think. Different twin and bunk mattress sizes and different thicknesses as well. Plus, their mattresses are toxin-free. They're made in their factory in Arizona, shipped to you wherever you are. You open them up, let them unroll and expand, and you can sleep on them that night. They also have a 120-night sleep trial, so you can be sure that you're satisfied with your mattress purchase. Go to rvmattress.com/RVmiles and use the code RVmiles to get 30% off. It's no longer 25%, it's 30% off now. Your next RV mattress purchase, rvmattress.com/RVmiles with code RVmiles for 30% off. Harvest Host is a membership that allows RVers to take a rest from the road and enjoy unlimited overnight stays at over 5,100 unique locations in North America, like breweries, farms, attractions, wineries, and much more. Easily plan and book your next RV trip and enjoy over $1,500 in exclusive member benefits by joining Harvest Host. Get 15% off your first year of membership with the code MILES. That's MILES. Go to harvesthost.com to become a Harvest Host member today.
You guys told us a lot about your early on location in life and doing in theater. Do you guys do anything in theater anymore? I know there's a Cirque Theater real close to you that we frequent. And it's great. And I didn't know if you guys jumped into that type of thing still or not.
We don't. We go watch stuff.
Abby keeps the drama going, though, correct?
I do.
I do. We still
for
have
free. Thank you.
We still have great connections with some of our really good friends in the Chicago theater industry, and we go up and see their shows a lot. Our middle son Ethan is getting involved in theater, so that's kind of our into it back home, is that we get to support him and go watch his shows. Eventually, we might get involved with some local stuff, but
yes,
we really haven't at this point.
I'm trying to work up the nerve to go to an audition, a local audition in town, and walk in there and perhaps maybe do a musical or something and just get back on the stage just because I enjoy it and I miss it. And sometimes I walk up to him and, we talked about our theater publication that we had before we started RV Miles. And every couple months I go up to him and I say, do you want to fire that back up again? Should we get that going? Let's add one more thing. Let's just start it back up. We'll start going to theaters. We'll get reviews going. We'll get people writing. And he just looks at me like I'm just absolutely crazy.
There's a lot of truth to the fact that a lot of people in that industry are very dramatic.
We have to be. We're very in touch with our feelings. So Yeah, we keep a connection to our Chicago community for sure.
Yeah.
And we are now theater parents, and we are patrons of the arts. But I would love to see him light a show again and get up there in the grid. And
I just like watching other people do a really great job of it.
I never learned what the lights are. I don't know their names. I don't know anything about lighting. I just know I'm supposed to stand here and a light's going to show up. But I would like to, if that was something he was interested in, I would support that. And I know he's very keen for me to go to an audition. I just have to trust in myself first that I can do it, and then I'll go.
I'm one of those people that just likes new things. So for me, it would be more likely that I would just go off and do something entirely different from anything I've done so far.
That's how we ended up
instead of going
here.
back and doing something in theater again.
Yeah, that's why we built a bus. That's just the list goes on and on for sure.
I'll build a cargo trailer now.
Sure.
Okay.
All right.
I'm always up for it. You sure? Oh boy. Uh-oh. My mom has the mic. Okay.
Do you have a next big adventure in the making? And have you ever thought about going international or another country other than what you've done?
I thought you were going to ask me if we have ever thought about going to Kansas City and moving there. That's where I thought that was going, for sure. International Kansas City.
Well, we did, obviously we did Mexico and Canada last year.
Very international.
Our good friends Heath and Alyssa were on the podcast several weeks ago talking about RVing around the world in different countries, and that certainly got us thinking a lot about potentially doing that. We've definitely been talking about doing some international trips.
Yeah, that's my 11-year plan. So give me my 10-year. My 11-year plan is to RV in Europe.
But as far as our next big adventure, we have lots of ideas about next year, about 2025. We're not solid on any of them yet, I don't think. But
no, we have a lot of things cooking that we're so very close to being able to talk about, but we just need some dotted lines and some things to happen first, and then we can start to talk about them. But there are things coming for 2025 and 2026 that we're really excited about because it really follows in the mission of what we want to do here. So yes, we have some next big things, but we're not quite there yet.
Let's not pretend they're locked in by any means whatsoever.
No, they're
either,
not.
is it?
I mean, yeah. One of them is to get Baja to Alaska out. So that's got to happen first, and then we'll do everything else.
We are going on a cruise.
We are. Shh,
our kids don't know.
children are in the room. Shh. All right. Does anyone else have? Oh, we've got one. Yes.
So Abby, as you're talking about your children, I'm a mom of 3, and my kids could probably say, I don't know what my mom does for a living. I've never seen her at work. I don't know what she does. She says it's a computer. You've been in a blessed and unique situation where your kids are getting to see firsthand what you all do. And so as you think about your hopes and for a legacy, what do you hope that your boys carry into their own lives as a value learned from you?
Oh,
Nothing heavy there.
girl. Woo. Oh, you coming at me. I hope so. My kids have gotten to see the highs and lows of what we do for a living. They have gotten to see me very sad at times. It was very hard for me in the beginning to read a lot of negative things. I really had to learn how to compartmentalize that. It was one thing when you're in theater and you read a garbage review and maybe it's about all of you and not just you. It's another thing to feel like you're tanking your business because someone doesn't like you. And so they have certainly seen that progression. And I hope that what they would take is that it's okay to feel sad about something. It's okay to struggle, but that in the end, if you really believe in that thing and you really want to do that thing, that you shouldn't ever let anyone stop you from doing it. Like that sometimes you are your own worst enemy. And so I had to really learn how to love myself and accept myself and believe in myself and what I was doing in order to know that when times were tough or something came on my plate that hurt, that I would know how to not take it so deep into my soul. And I really hope for my children, especially as they look into potential careers in the film industry, potentially in the theater industry, or even the gaming industry for our youngest.
Thick skin industries, yes.
Yes, that you do have to have a bit of a thick skin, but thick skin doesn't mean that you have to be hard or harsh. You can still be kind and open and welcoming and receive everything that's out there, but you can still have a thick skin about it, and you can still go get the work done and be proud of the work that you put in at the end of the day. So that's what I hope for them. That was a really good question. Thank you.
Well, that was a great question, but I want to lighten the mood a little bit. I'd like to hear from each of you your funniest camping story.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, you go first.
Oh, well.
That'll determine what she says.
It's hard to rank them, you know. I mean, we certainly have had a lot of mishaps, right? In terms of like, you know, the black tank accidents or watching other people's black tank accidents. There's a lot of that going on out there. A lot of, you know, the stuff that isn't funny when it happens and it's funny later when you, the one that's coming to my head right now is we made, like, I think the first real long travel stretch we did, we tried to go from, I can't remember where in New Mexico, but somewhere in New Mexico, and heading back to Kansas City to Abby's folks when we were in the bus, and we were trying to do it very quickly. You know, it's like 600 miles in a day sort of thing, which it's not something that we ever like to do. And, you know, stresses were already high. There's already a lot of driving at night and stuff like that. And there was a point where it turned out that I was driving the wrong direction for about 2.5 hours.
It was so funny
and, you know,
in the moment.
And maybe an extra 10 minutes of like just keeping on going because I have no idea how to say that I've done this. It's just, and, you know, it's like 9:00 at night.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the one that hits me the most. We really were rushing to, and in fact, after that point, I think we drove because we were towing the minivan behind our bus, and I think after that point, you just drove the minivan.
I left you
while I was driving, and we said we were just doing it because it was faster, which was true.
Which is true, but it was probably best that we just got into separate vehicles for a while, and I drove faster.
The minivan had better GPS. That's true.
So we did that. I think another one that comes to mind is when we first switched from being in the bus to being in the travel trailer. And when we realized that, I don't know how this happened, we've talked about this before, but that we realized that tinted windows at night don't mean tinted windows when the lights are on. And I don't know what Jay was doing when he came out of the bathroom after a shower, but everybody in the campground knew that Jason had been in the shower. And I just
wearing a towel.
Barely. And it was one of those moments where, because in the bus, we had these roller shades. And so at night, we would just go through and we would pull all the roller shades down and be quiet. It's time to go to bed. But you're fooled by these darkened windows in your RV.
Yeah, you can't see anything outside. It's night.
No, and
it's like a show outside.
And here we are in Verde Ranch in Arizona. And, you know, he comes out, and I think even, I don't know where the kids were. They weren't there. I don't know where our children were, but he comes out, and all of a sudden I'm just like, do you think people can see you? What are you doing? Do you think, and like, sure enough, they could see him. So it's little things like that that I always remember. Yeah.
Are you talking about the show?
Yeah. The little things she remembers are things that I did. That's great.
No. Family show.
That's not what I meant there.
I'm sure the show was adequate.
Editor alert. Put it in there. Oh my God, is it hot in here? Okay. All right, what do we got next?
Following on from that, I would like to know if we can expect, as mile markers, a blooper reel.
Oh, no.
Yes. So
she always says to me, why don't you put that in a blooper reel?
Yes.
And
some of our best material doesn't end up in the podcast sometimes because of just the way
here's
that it
the
happened.
thing.
So
you're not going to be so happy about what's in the blooper reel.
sometimes blooper reels include looks. Sometimes they include words that would have to be censored for.
Sometimes they include made-up words that don't exist.
Sometimes they do.
Sometimes I gotta stop and say, Abby, that's not a word. I don't know what you're talking about.
And I look at him and I go, "What are you talking about? Of course, it's a word."
Only in the Midwest.
And then we learned what did I say the other day? I put chapped and chafed, and I made it. What did I say?
Chaffed.
I said, "Oh, my lips were so chaffed," and he was like, "What?"
Like, I couldn't come up with spontaneous earlier, so
But I think we can put a blooper reel together. I've been asking for that for years, and so now that someone else is asking,
now I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah, now he's got to do it for sure. Absolutely. So, mile marker benefit, you get to see blooper reels. rvmiles.com/mile markers.
All
Next
right,
question.
We got one from Jack.
Oh my God.
Hi, I'm your son. I'm recording myself because I'm usually recording everybody else. But now I got to record myself. What is the worst instance of you guys recording an episode and realizing it wasn't recording the entire time?
Oh, Jackson, you've been in the room when that has happened.
The worst instances of that have been the ones where we got into a little spat before recording.
Yeah. And then a spat after.
And then I forgot to record something, and then we get through, and then we get in a little argument beforehand or something, and then because we can't record in that mood. So you've got to get out of that, and it takes whatever it takes as a couple to get out of that. And sometimes that means like an hour later we're not recording yet, and then we've solved the problem, we've gone through it, we've made our peace with each other, and start recording, and then I didn't hit the record button or something, or the battery dies on the camera 15 minutes in, and
yeah. Let me be clear.
I've tried to solve those problems.
You have worked very hard to solve those problems. And let me be clear. Our spats are always the most silly, most ridiculous.
Y'all know.
They are
the
are
same
never...
thing you all fight over, that you don't, afterwards you're like, what were we even why we're arguing about what the name of that color is? What are we talking about here?
Sometimes it is something you have an idea, and perhaps, your business partner thinks that idea is not great, and they do their best to express that to you, but you don't see them as your business partner. You see them as your husband, and then you're like, why are you criticizing me? And then it just kind of turns into a thing.
When usually I'm like, that's maybe that is great. That is not even where I'm at right now. I'm like in a totally different planet of like thinking of different things right now. And
or you just want to, it's just little things like that. And then sometimes the stress of recording is, and I know this hasn't been a question, but it can be really stressful for us to find a moment within the week to record. And often it feels very hurried, like I've got 2.5 hours to do this from start to finish before I have to get back home, or I have to get to the kids, or I have to make dinner, or we have to do XYZ, or you've got this. And
it's just like an RV travel day. If we set aside 3 hours to do the thing, and then we're an hour and a half late starting, and then all the stuff that's supposed to happen later piles back on top of you, and
then you snap at someone, and they snap back at you.
Those are things we've learned to try to solve, and that's part of the issue with that. Is we do a lot of different pieces of content every week, and that's a lot of that had to do with our full-time travels and being in different places where we're setting up and the light's just terrible. We can't get it to look halfway decent at all.
I got a big thing about the lights looking right. Like
the road noise is really bad, or we don't feel comfortable doing it in the campground because there's just so many people walking around. All that sort of stuff is kind of what's led to the studio allowing us to sort of be a lot more organized about this stuff, having everything set up and ready for us to be able to come in and press a button so we can really focus more on what the content is and less than all the technical stuff that happens with it.
Yeah. So
you've been working on Mile Zero Studio for a while. What do you see your goal?
Yeah, we have.
And you guys have been talking about it for a long time. I mean, what do you see your goal is with the Mile Zero Studio?
Well, it's coming along. It's getting there. I mean, my hope is that by the end of the year we'll be done. It is. I heard that.
Yeah. Thank you. Which year? Can you please specify which year?
So the goal is, it's going to feel a lot like a TV studio in a lot of ways, but sort of our version of what that is, and it's a flexible space that allows us permanent locations. Where this is the set for the RV Miles podcast. This is the set for the news videos. And then we've got, TVs behind us for graphics and stuff where I can really work on producing these shows more as if they were live. So which drastically cuts down on the editing time, right? So most of the work that we do is either writing videos or editing videos. The recording time is fairly insignificant when it comes to all that sort of stuff. So everything that we're trying to do is cut down the editing time. So what I would like is if, for instance, my newscasts, when I record them, it feels like I'm recording a live newscast and I have all the graphics preset and all the B-roll and everything that we can cut to, and that is all happening live. I'm not putting it out on the internet live, but after the fact, we only have to cut out a few mistakes and we can get that content out much faster. Part of it's about making it easier on us, but part of it's more about making the information more timely. When there's a breaking story, if I can be the one to get out there and get that information out.
All that breaking RV news.
But also, like some of the biggest stuff that we do is covering like, national park closures and things like that. And those things really end up having a life of their own if we can be one of the first ones to get to it. And it just makes everything else we do a little bit more successful. So if I can do that, of course, the goal again is to get the information to everybody correctly, and but then also be able to easily bring people into the studio, whether virtually or in person, for interviews and all that sort of stuff, so that we can really conveniently gather and disseminate information in a really precise and machined way that doesn't have all these mistakes of like recording not working and all that sort of stuff that really bogs you down in the end.
And so while he thinks a lot about the technical side and sort of the production side, I think a lot about the community side for the studio. So one of the things I would love to see us be able to do is to open up the studio eventually to young podcasters, filmmakers, content creators in the area, to have a place that they could come to and learn that craft.
We'd love to do stuff like this and have folks in the studio for live shows.
Set it up so that there is a place for the community as they pass through. We would love to start building relationships within the community to encourage more RVers. Certainly the Visit Quad Cities, we've had a meeting on the books for a while now that just hasn't been able to come to fruition, but it's about creating a space. And then when you come to that area, you could come and sit and if you wanted and watch us record the podcast.
We've already had several of you come visit. Some often a surprise, but that's okay too.
Yeah, but it's
probably best if you let us know. But
yeah, but knowing where so that we'll actually be there. But working with campgrounds in the area that this is where we would encourage you to go stay, that this is the things that, that the studio, again, is an extension of this community. And that if you had a need when you were passing through and you're a content creator and you needed a space to come to, the Mile Zero studio would be there for you as well. It's not just about us, but it's about anyone in the area that we could serve with the studio.
I have a question. Recently, you've been interviewing people within the RV industry like Todd Henson and Josh. Is there anybody that you would like to interview, or do you have somebody in the works that you would like to interview for the podcast?
We have several people in the works. I'm trying to figure out the path forward with that, and I would like to get feedback about that, of like who people are interested in hearing from. There are the people that sort of do lots of interviews, and that's fine. I'm often trying to find people that fill the holes in my knowledge gap. So, we're going to have somebody come on and talk about showing behind a motorhome, which is not something that we're used to. I would love to sort of have more RV technician type people that can talk about maintenance and that sort of stuff. But, also we would love to go bigger. I would love to interview, some folks that maybe are outside of our RV industry bubble that are, maybe some celebrities and stuff like that are into RVing or are into national parks and that sort of thing. But definitely interviewing is going to be a bigger part of what we do going forward, since we don't travel full time anymore. Our episodes used to all be about this is what we did this week, this is what we did this week. Well, we can't do that as much, but now we can bring other voices in. We can bring some other content creators and talk about their travels and stuff. But we also have ideas to do like some fun episodes where we have trivia games or things like that, where we have maybe 3 contestants come on and do like a road trip trivia, that sort of stuff. We have a lot of ideas, and we're trying to sort of figure out a way to guide ourselves through them. I have to check the camera because it's making an error message at me. Hold on a second.
How long has that been going on?
So it begins. If you need to refill a drink, this is a great time to do it. Jack's going to film that. So it's the blooper reel right there. You guys don't get me started on memory cards. Okay. We're keeping the memory card business in business. Like the memory cards. I'll answer the question just while he's doing that. It doesn't have to, we can leave it at that. But I actually would really like to get, some of the bigger national park service people on the show. I'd love to talk to like the head of the Department of Interior. I would like to talk to park superintendents from some of the bigger parks to find out what their thoughts are on how to manage and protect our public lands while keeping access to our public lands open. I'd love to talk to, some people in the top up there in the Bureau of Land Management and have them talk to us and tell us, what they're seeing and what they're experiencing, but also, how can we keep these places from being shut down?
Okay, we're back.
And we're back. So that for me is like, I would really like to see some more sort of like top tier decision makers so that we can ask them questions, and even top tier decision makers in the RV industry.
Yeah. Like, this would have, if had we had our stuff together, like it would have been cool right now during this election season for like on the America's National Parks podcast, if we had a representative from each of the campaigns come on and say, what the campaign's plans for public lands are, You know, those are things that we don't necessarily hear in the millions of dollars being spent on campaign ads, right? I would love to be able to hear that sort of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's, yeah. Any other question? Yes.
So Jason, you said you spend a lot of time doing video content creation, recording, editing, etc. But you have to find the content to talk about. Yeah. So where do you find the hours? But how do you go about for the research for all the news items you get? Can you talk a little bit about where the content comes from your perspective?
Do you want to do an impression of what our Tuesday morning podcast recording looks like when we get up?
You want to see our inbox?
Yeah.
Is that
Well, I was going to say, we grab a cup of coffee for the podcast. It's 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting on the couch. I look at him and I go, so what do you want to talk about today?
That's not true. We have a list of subjects. We have like a list of subjects, and then we always skip. You know, there's like a list of 10 things that are like the next 10 episodes we want to do, and we always skip all of them and just do something. But in terms of like finding like news stories, you know, I'm just constantly checking things throughout the week. There's several different sources that we get news stories from. First, we get them directly from the source, so we'll often get press releases from manufacturers of either RVs or trucks and or equipment and supplies and sort of stuff like that. So we get a lot of press releases, and we've built up a lot of relationships over the years to get that stuff coming in. And that's sort of the hardest part, because you also get sent all kinds of junk, right? That is not related to anything that anybody here would be interested in, or anything related to like our shows at all.
We get so many emails for psychedelic mushrooms.
Maybe we're all interested in that. I don't know.
Many press releases about psychedelic mushrooms.
Dave's raising his hand.
That and Temu. So many emails.
So one source is the sort of firsthand manufacturers. Another is then me. I have a whole slew of like Google News alerts, where anytime a whole bunch of different words are mentioned, I'm getting a whole bunch of alerts about those, and I'm going through those. And then I'm trolling through the national news constantly to find things that are sort of outside of the parameters of kind of what those searches would find. So things like, you know, I did a story last week about the National Weather Service changing what they call a extreme cold instead of, they're not using the term wind chill anymore. That sort of stuff I'm finding by, you know, looking at just a ton of national news. But more and more, what's been great though is getting content from the community and having people send us not only, here's a story I came across in my hometown newspaper, or something that happened in my local area, or I heard this might be happening. Can you talk about this or follow up on it? Like a lot of the FMCA stuff that's happened recently, I've heard from folks about in this room, and starting off as rumors and being more specific as time went on. And I'm able to sort of look into that stuff more and build a more cohesive story out of it, and, you know, get official quotes and all that sort of stuff. And that has been really the most effective thing, on top of, you know, people sending in photos. We've had people send in photos of some of the damage of the hurricanes recently and things like that we can share, so that we can get that information out there. That's been the most effective. But yeah, it's a lot of stuff for me to boil down and make the editorial decision really of like, what goes in this weekend, what doesn't, and what do we have time to cover? What can I add to? What can I interpret? Because my job in this situation, as I view it, is like I'm reading the news just like a newscaster would or whatever, but I'm also interpreting it, and I'm providing you know, not really an opinionated thing always. Sometimes I'll throw a little opinion in here and then there, but an analysis that is sharing with you why this might be important to you as an RVer, as a camper, what it might be. And that's sort of where I like to I enjoy, you know, putting that sort of spin on things. So I will get, you know, information throughout the week, and then the morning that I sit down to write, that's what most of my day is writing the news roundup for that day from all the articles that I've been sort of collecting over the course of the week.
But a lot of our single topic videos, so the tow haul video or what does the RVIA sticker mean on your rig, a lot of times it's because we will source those out of RV Facebook groups.
Or the comment section, like on our own videos.
It's more about like, what are you all talking about? Yeah. What are you asking in groups that you are wanting to know more about? And so rather than what we think you want to know, we're listening to what you want to know right now. What's important to you right now?
You know, it's selfishly, that's the most effective way to get people that are searching for something. Like if somebody's asking a question over and over and over on Facebook, well, then there's probably a need for that question to be answered in a more cohesive way. So we'll do some sort of thorough video or podcast episode on it and hope it gets some traction from people making that same search on Google.
Yeah. Yep.
Since you guys got the studio, is there any future plans to bring in manufacturers as a roundtable like you do with us as a roundtable?
We'd love to. We're a little far from them, so it's probably more likely that we're going to them to do some of that sort of stuff. But we are not too far from Elkhart, and we have the ability to get up there more often and do more of that. But we also have a lot of dealerships in our area, so we would like to make some relationships with some of the local dealerships and have dealership representatives come on to talk about certain things, whether that be, you know, we don't want anything to ever feel like a sales pitch, but if they've got, you know, a technician that can come in and talk about some of the problems that they've been seeing or
what is their open house experience like? Like, what do they go to open house for? What are they looking for? How does that work for a dealer? You know, things like that kind of open the door.
Kind of like what we talked about this morning, where I think there is a lot of room for RV consumers to align a bit more with dealers. And even though dealers are our adversary when we're negotiating the price of a vehicle, dealers are in the same boat as us when they're buying from the manufacturer. And I think there's a lot of room for dealers and consumers to work together to make some improvements in the industry.
Yeah, for sure.
This is sort of for Grant. So Grant, you've known them longer and probably better than many of us here. What's a story you'd love to share about them?
Oh boy.
Okay. So
no.
Here we go. All right. So I don't have much on Jason. I mean, sweet. Yeah. He's the king of
pouring this.
Yeah, pour it for a long time.
Grant and Abby have known each other since
birth,
literally birth, like shortly after birth.
Did not like each other until high school.
Okay.
I'm going to have to refute some stuff, so just let me have this.
Jason
right, let's go.
is basically the klutziest guy I've ever met. If a month goes, when Abby calls, she doesn't call often, but it's usually, so Jason did this.
Jason broke his finger.
Jason needs to be wrapped in bubble wrap. And that's Jason. We know this.
Yes.
So Abby, oh my gosh. She has been on, I had a paper route. She's been on my paper route. If I wasn't home by 2 a.m., I was at work. So I'd pick people up and we'd go on the paper route. Mm-hmm. It was great fun. She fell asleep in the van one time, wrapped in my dead dog's blanket.
I can't believe you're going to tell this story. You're the
Earlier
worst.
that morning, I had buried my dog and I had him in a blanket from the vet, and I took him and she just saw a blanket and wrapped herself up in it. So that's one story. There's not just one story.
I wrapped myself up in the blanket that the dog had passed away in.
Yeah.
That he had, and he didn't tell me, and he let me keep sleeping in said blanket. Yes, I was not. We were like 17.
Yeah,
I was not very happy with this guy. Yes.
Good times.
Yes.
Gosh, there's so many stories. One of my favorites is we were at her grandma's house, and she asked for a water. So I took the water out of the cooler and I shook it up and I gave it to her, and she opens it up and goes, "Oh," and goes to take a drink, and I smashed it. And it came out of her nose and out of her mouth, and her face was just pure, I'm going to kill you.
Yes. Yes.
So that was one of my favorites.
Yes.
Gosh, we've been together like forever. I married her best friend. Yeah, I was a bromade in her wedding.
He was one of my bromaids.
She was a bridesmaid in our wedding a week after giving birth to that one.
C-section too.
Yeah,
and I said we're going
we told
to this
her,
wedding.
walk down the aisle and then go sit in the front row as soon as her uncle performed the ceremony. And as soon as your uncle says, be seated, you can be seated. You don't have to stand up there with all of us. He never said, be seated. So she stood the whole time anyway and was like, why am I not up there?
I did. So yeah, we've been friends for 45 years, or we've at least been in each other's orbit for 45 years. Jen and I over there have been friends for 31 years. There are a lot of stories I could tell about this guy, but we don't have that kind of time tonight.
No.
But for sure, they spend he and Jenny spend every Christmas Eve at my house with my family. It's not Christmas Eve without Jenny and Grant there. Like, they are such an integral part of our family at this point. Like, they are the fifth and sixth Trabue at this point. And now we just need to get these two into an RV so that we can go on adventures together. And in 10 years, when I'm out and about, I want these two zipping behind us.
I'll be in front.
Yeah, probably. Because we have a strict, we don't go faster than 65 when we're towing. And
85 easy.
Yeah. So you can imagine what those paper routes were like. So yeah.
So much fun.
Yeah.
So many memories.
Let's not, some of the
so
stuff.
much
some
fun.
Of the, this is going to go on the internet, and some of the things could get us in trouble. Go away. There are probably
Thank you,
people
Grant.
out there.
Thanks for being here.
Yes. There are probably people out there still wondering what happened to their mailbox. So go, sit down. All right, so that means then we're done with the Q&A section, and that means that it is time to check the level of our tanks. And this is always sponsored by our friends over at Liquefied RV Toilet Treatment, the no BS toilet treatment. Y'all got some of it in your bags. Yeah, go get that liquefied. You can find out more about Liquefied at liquefiedrv.com, Jason, because I have a mic and a drink in my hand. I can't do my little up and down, but what is in your black tank this week?
Okay, so there's this new website. It's called deadbeatcampers.com. And it is a website that's been organized by RV park owners, where they can blacklist RVers secretly.
Right.
So they have built this website. It's called deadbeatcampers.com, and they say it's for, it's a place where they can list people that they may have not paid, or they've damaged the campground, or they're rule breakers and stuff like that. And, I think there's an element of us not wanting to camp with those people, but I think maybe we've all, especially us, have had experiences with park managers with ridiculous,
who don't like packages being sent to their campground, and therefore they kick you out.
And obviously there's this element of where we can go on sites like Campendium and Campground Reviews, and we can review the campground. So the argument might be that they will then get to review us this way. But you can't see this list. It's a secret list that anybody, if you post a negative review of a campground because their electricity is at 90 volts and there's sewage spilled and the staff is really grumpy and angry, and you post a negative review about that, well, they could list you on this site. And and you wouldn't even know that you're on it. You might get denied access at a campground, and you might not even know why.
Grant, are you listening?
So from what I understand,
need to know that you're listening right now.
There's only a few dozen people on this list at this point. Like this was an article in Woodall's Campground Management magazine. They only have a few dozen people on this list, but they're working with campsite reservation systems to integrate this. So like right now they have to look up a name to see if they're on this list, but they're working with campsite reservation systems to try to integrate this into them automatically getting an alert if somebody that's on this list is trying to book. So I don't like that.
I don't like
I don't like that at all. So that's my
I don't
black
like that
tank.
it's secret.
Yeah.
I should, you leave someone a Yelp review about their business. They have the ability to respond.
They can respond to it. They can go to Yelp and say, well, here's why this is wrong, or like, this is. And we've had to do that before.
Or we apologize.
We've had
Thank you for
people.
coming.
We've had people leave 1-star reviews on the podcast before that clearly were listening to a different podcast. Like,
Yes.
Yes. What they wrote in the text was not about us. So we go to Apple and we say, hey, this isn't. They're not our show they're talking about here. Or the best is when they leave a really kind review, like they really loved the show and they put 1 star, and we're like, that's not what that means. That's not...
But yeah.
But you have the sort of built-in mechanism of that with sites like Yelp and campgroundreviews.com and all that sort of stuff where it's more public, and this secret stuff I don't like.
Yeah, I would like to know if I'm on this list for sure. All right, what is in your fresh tank this week?
We find after traveling to Alaska, after spending a lot of time in Minnesota,
chasing it on New Year's Day.
Yeah, on New Year's Day, spending all night driving around looking for it. Last night, we got to see the Northern Lights finally. We got to see it as a group here in the middle of Iowa. That was really, really cool.
Yeah, don't go to Alaska if you want to see the lights.
It doesn't.
To Iowa and homecoming.
I know everybody across the U.S. is posting pictures of this, so it doesn't feel as special anymore, but it was really special to see.
It's very special to us, especially since on New Year's Day, literally right after midnight, we had seen some photos in our area that people were seeing the lights, and spur of the moment, all 5 of us were up. We'd rung in the new year, and we looked at the kids and we said, let's get in the car and go chase them. And so at 12:30 at night, we all grabbed our coats. We just threw on some shoes. We ran out to the car and we drove around for 2 hours looking for them.
We drove the wrong direction.
We did. Guess who was driving? Guess who was driving?
We drove. I was just trying to get to dark, so we drove south, and I didn't realize. Oh, we're going to turn around and look north, back at the city lights.
Yeah, didn't work out. So it was very exciting last night to finally get to see them.
All right, what's in your black tank this week?
All right, so my black tank, here we go. Listen, we're all breaking up with national coffee chains, okay? I need you to listen to me. This is very important. We can't go to Dunkin' anymore. We can't go to Starbucks. We can't go to Scooters.
Dunkin' has donuts.
No, we can't go to Dutch Bros because you can't get real coffee there anymore. All you can get is very sugary, very like just nasty,
I'm pretty certain you can
coffee.
still ask for a drip coffee.
No, even the drip coffee is gross anymore because they don't care about the drip. All it is now is white mochas with like 14 shots of the white mocha, and then they were gonna throw a like birthday cake like sweet cream on top of it just for fun, and then they'll give you a cherry if you ask nice. And somewhere in there is coffee, but I don't know where it is because I can't taste it anymore.
I'm giving you a hard time because I think maybe 2 years ago, your black tank was breaking up with Starbucks.
We tried. And you know what? We broke up once and now look at us. Okay. So we're still like, so sometimes it happens.
So
you
you're
break
going
up
to go
and
back to Starbucks? Is that what you're saying?
No, Starbucks.
Here's the thing.
No,
she collects the mugs from Starbucks. That's not something she'll stop. So we still have to go into them in every state we go to.
You'll still get my money. It'll just be in the form of a mug. But I'm really serious. Like the other day we were driving by and in our area, there is kind of a chain coffee place. It's called Cool Beans with a Z. Okay, Cool Beans.
That's local. Well,
that
you
is
got a
local,
problem
but
with local?
they've got several spots around,
Yeah.
and I was very excited. But on their marquee, they said, "Stop in for birthday cake cold cream. Stop in for this cold cream." It was all these cold creams.
Birthday cake.
And I just thought, when did we stop saying like, "Come get a good cup of coffee"?
When did birthday cake become a flavor?
Right. And you go like someplace like a Dutch Bros. And like, I remember really specifically last spring when I brought Jason a Dutch Bros. And listen, if you like all this coffee, that's fine.
I was going to say, I
know people are looking at me
people
like,
that love their dessert coffee.
Don't come at me at Dutch Bros. I understand.
It's like when I used to think blueberry muffin was like a healthy breakfast. I used to be like, oh yeah, I'm really.
You're like, oh look, I'm
in
eating some
college.
little bites.
I'm having some blueberry muffins. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go run on the treadmill a little bit.
Right.
I'm eating cake for breakfast. What am I?
Right, and this is coming from someone who used to push a stroller around Chicago with her babies in it, drinking her pumpkin spice latte, like the whole thing. I've been there. I've been where we all are. And I've just come to the conclusion that we've forgotten that coffee by itself is okay to drink. Like, coffee is good. And you don't need birthday cake cream on it. You don't need 6 pumps of pumpkin syrup in order to drink your coffee. And if you do, listen, I keep saying, no shame, do your game. It's fine. But I would like to be able to go in there and order a drip coffee and not get burnt coffee or watery coffee. Like, I would like to be able, it breaks my heart that I have to talk negatively about my Starbucks, but I have to. I don't go in there anymore. I make my coffee at home.
You do. You have been very good, and it has saved us a lot of money.
Well, I just buy the cups now. Like, so those are, I mean, I'm making up for it. We're not saving
I would
anything.
say the coffee itself is still not cheap, but it's definitely a lot more affordable than it used to be.
The small local roaster, when you travel around, that's the place that I look for. It's a cool
thing about traveling is to be able to get, you know, we all get like wines and whiskeys and whatever it is from different local regions, foods, fruits. Coffee is a really interesting thing to do that with too, because you get to have it for a while.
I'm gonna get it from the Starbucks people and the Dutch. I know the Dutch Bros people are gonna come for me. I can feel it, but like, I just had to speak my truth on this.
Dutch Bros is just like going to the ice cream shop.
Right, like we got one and I brought it to you and I asked you to guess the calorie count on it. 660 calories in this little coffee, this medium grande 16-ouncer thing. 660 calories, all sugar. That is wild to me. So I just have those, but can we have coffee at the coffee shop as well? Like, that's all I'm asking.
All right. What is yes, thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
You want to step down from your soapbox now. What's in your fresh tank this week?
So my fresh tank is all these amazing people in the room here tonight that have joined us for homecoming. All of you are amazing. I have to give you my fresh tank from those of you who have spoken in seminars, to come and helped clean up the space or put out the food, or walked up to me and asked me, how can I help you? What do you need? Or sat down and made a new friend, or offered to play some games, or brought their beautiful pups in here so we could snuggle up with them and love them. The dogs here are awesome. I am telling you, your dogs are amazing.
Dogs are more well-behaved than
to
our
all
kids.
of you, like, from offering the services that you have to just being so in it to win it on this, to help make it the best that it can be. You all get my black tank, but I have
fresh tank. Jeez. Good Lord. Say it again. Do it again. Do it one more time. One more time. Do it again.
Hold on. I gotta get back. You all get my fresh tank. But we would like to single out 2 people that I think you all will join us in celebrating tonight. 2 people that have been with us since the very first RV Miles meetup in Verde Ranch, Arizona. They have traveled here to come spend time with us. It happens to be their anniversary today. A little birdie told me that they are celebrating 10 years, and they drove all the way from New Mexico to not miss this event. So to our friends, Michael and Mickey, who we have had the pleasure of knowing and truly considering friends, we say thank you. We say thank you for, you have been, all of you have, but these 2, I don't know, when I think of RV Miles, they're there. They have been, as so many of you have, they have been the OGs. And so we just, where is it? We have this little gift for you for your anniversary.
You don't have to come up and get it.
You don't have to come up and get it. We're not gonna make you come up. But we do want to just say to you guys, happy anniversary. Thank you for driving all the way to be here. We're very thankful for you and your friendship. We're very thankful for all of you. You are all truly our fresh tank every single week. Thank you.
That's it for this week's episode of the RV Miles Podcast.
Yes, it is. And hey, if you are liking the RV Miles Podcast, we always like to remind you to please head over to Apple Podcast and leave us a 5-star review. Your review is helping put RV Miles in front of a whole new generation of listeners, which means we get to grow this community, and Homecoming continues to welcome new people every single year. So until next week, please stay safe. Go out and find your community because it's out there. Look at the one we have here and keep logging those RV miles.
Bye, everybody.